a moment of the day when we connect and appreciate every possibility that it's been offered of learning and going deeper into our knowledge and bringing the best therapists that can bring us more and more information on personal growth, on self-improvement, and everything related to conscience. Hello and welcome. This is Quique Posada. On behalf of the International Association of Alternative and Ancient Medicine, we welcome you in partnership with Aldea Global. We're coming to you live at this time. So we're going to have a great encounter again at this time of the day on Mondays. There she is already. She's connected with us. We have Maria-Pilar González from Beacon Hypnotherapy Institute to learn more about this wonderful technique, ancient technique called hypnosis. And we have a great topic today, Maria-Pilar. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, Kike. Well, happy to be here as always on Mondays and sharing with you these wonderful, as you said, very ancient ways of self-improvement, really, that has become very much into focus in modern times, and yet, you know, the old is new, and here we are using all these wonderful tools to enhance and help our own minds and our growth. So happy to be here.
And I just changed the background, the way you can fix things around, move things around. So we're happy to be able to do that. Maria-Pilar, so this is a wonderful moment for us, for all of us, to ask ourselves, what can we do to empower our minds? What can we do to enhance really everything that we have heard since childhood, the incredible power of the mind. We know that some people achieve a level of expertise. They are able to achieve things like even magic, when they have that intention. But we think that it's superpower. We think that it's something that is very hard to achieve. Tell us how hypnosis can help in really helping us focus more on those intentions, in those objectives that we have in life.
Right. Well, for one, we have to understand that we have different levels of our mind. And the different levels are the conscious and the unconscious mind. The conscious mind is really our analytical mind. And then there is the unconscious. And you know how they say that we use very little of our brain? And to me, it's because we limit ourselves only with the analytical mind. But unconsciously, deeper in the unconscious, we have so much to use. But we may not be aware of it. With hypnosis, though, we can access the unconscious, and we realize that, for example, we have incredible memory in the unconscious of this lifetime and even further back in other lifetimes. So again, the memory bank is unlimited. So there is so much more power that we can access as well to create and do more. And when we go into the hypnotic state, we can then see, feel, sense, use all our senses really to recreate or create anew something that we want to happen. We can visualize, we use affirmations. And it is because really, how do we create things, right? I mean, when we create something, and you've been in the music industry, where does a song begin? Don't we think first? We have an idea, and then we start putting it on to paper. We write the notes, we write the lyrics, right?
There are wonderful stories behind the creation of songs. Most of composers, they admit that it's a sort of a channeling that takes place when they compose, when they write a song. It suddenly, there's a flow of creativity that wasn't expected, or sometimes there's hard work behind, but always there's this conclusion that it's like a gift. It's something that it's not basically not your own doing, but it comes from a place that it might as well be the subconscious. And where is that connected to? No, there's so many things that makes you wonder how is the creativity really works.
Exactly, and that's what hypnosis is, entering that part of the mind. You made me think of many years ago. I watched the movie Mozart. Right, Mozart would hear, wasn't he, or Bach even? They would hear. Bach was the one that was, I think, deaf even, and Johann Sebastian Bach. And Johann Sebastian Bach would hear, though. Now, obviously, he didn't hear with these ears because he was deaf. He heard it in his mind, in his unconscious. And he would then create the music that way. So obviously, there is so much more in there than we think, and we know, we understand. The same goes for when, who was it? Some of these scientists, they would go into meditative states. Again, meditation and hypnosis is the same state of mind, going into alpha and deeper states. And there, again, we access that unlimited, the unlimited aspect of our unconscious, and we also then access the universal consciousness, which is limitless. So often these Michelangelo and so many others from past and even present, they would do that. You often read in history books that people would go take a nap. Who was it that I read that would take a nap? Einstein and so forth. He would take a nap and had like marbles in his hand. It wasn't a nap. What he was doing is going into an hypnotic state, and he would keep the marbles in his hand, because if he fell asleep, which meant a little deeper than he wanted to go, he would drop the marbles and wake himself up and then go back. But he would meditate. He would go into these different universal consciousness, into the different levels of your mind, and begin to get this information. Everything is already out there. We just need to tap into it and get it back. That's it. So, as you said, music then comes into this creation, right? You have an idea. You first, it starts in here, and then you put it out on paper, or we draw, or whatever you're creating. But we often limit ourselves to just what I know. Do I have just high school? Do I know? Do I have 2 years of college, 4 years of college? Do I have a doctorate? And that's information I've got. That's all I know. Well, guess what? There is so much more. There is so much more, because really our soul has connection to everything. And a personal experience, many years ago, I worked at a bank, and it was an international bank, and we were trying to figure out a situation with some employees that we had to get approval for, and whatever. It had logistics. And my boss and I were trying to figure this out, and it was kind of like we couldn't figure it out, and we said, let's leave it and let's tackle it tomorrow. Now, I went home, and I guess I must have gone to sleep with that in my mind. And in the middle of the night, I know, that's why I was asleep, I figured it out, which means I woke up and I had the answer. So the next morning, I go into work. I march into my boss's office and, said, good morning. I go, I got the solution. He's like, what? And I go, I got the solution to the logistics problem. He goes, what do you mean? And I told him, look, this and this and this and that. And he's like, wow, great. How did you figure that out? And I smiled and I said, I figured it out in my sleep, which is going into the unconscious. Your unconscious does not go to sleep. And that's the one that does the astral traveling, connecting with the universal consciousness, etc., etc. When you learn to connect conscious and unconscious, then you can tap more into that. And with hypnosis, we can do that. It is really quite amazing, because the more you meditate, you understand that from the conscious to the unconscious, it's a very thin line. And we just don't allow ourselves to know that we can do that. And once we learn, it's easier to do it.
Well, for some people, it's really, really hard to be able to achieve or obtain those levels, achieve the depth of those waves that we're talking, the brain waves. That's why it's very, very instrumental to visit a hypnotherapist to be able to achieve that. So explain a little bit how through a therapy people can get in touch with those realms.
Well, especially it's interesting because in the first session, I do usually a very, what I call a generic relaxation of mind and body, or body and mind. Because it's important for the person to make that transition of letting go, relaxing the body. And when you relax the body and then stop thinking, stop worrying about, should I feel this? Is this what's going on? Is she saying this? Am I doing it right? Just that thinking process. You're thinking, you're awake, but you stop engaging in a thought. And I achieve that with my clients by speaking to them, which means the analytical mind, or the monkey brain as we call it, because it's always jumping around and not sitting still, now is going to listen to me as I'm talking, as I tell the person, just relax your feet, relax your legs, or we take them to a wonderful place that they enjoy, a garden or a beach, whichever, and visualize themselves there. Now suddenly the person is now listening to the story. The monkey brain is now calm, just listening to the story. And then we can make that connection to the unconscious. When you're then accessing the unconscious, your monkey brain really slows down. And that's how you access the unconscious. And it is incredibly, incredibly soothing, calming. Usually after the first session, people come out and often, these words are almost every day that I hear, wow, I don't think I've ever been this calm or quiet in my mind in years. I'm not kidding, in years. Even going to sleep. Because we're so overstimulated that we never shut down that analytical mind, especially now with all these gadgets, phones, tablets, and all that. So once we do it one time, the next time the client comes for the second session, really, our mind is all like, oh, I really like this. This is a wonderful feeling. And now participates even faster, allows the mind to quiet even faster. And then we can access the unconscious faster and also go deeper with each time. And once you access, again, we access an unlimited series of thoughts, ideas, memories, and especially if we're working on unwanted negative thinking, ideas, thoughts, we change them into the positive. I like to always tell people, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? Well, I'm sure you would say, I don't want to be poor, and tap the magic wand. No. You're going to say, I want to be rich. Well, then think that way. This is your magic wand. So,
yeah, we know that, maybe we've heard it so many times. Do not focus on what you are rejecting or avoiding, because that's exactly what's going to happen. But I'm thinking that it comes in very, very, very handy, very useful to be in that state with the help of somebody next to you, making those affirmations, those positive affirmations of what it is that you want to achieve. So, because it comes in very, very hard to be able to achieve that state on your own and then introduce those ideas or new beliefs or goals that you might want to have. So it's really helpful to have somebody assisting you in that process, and that's what you do.
That's exactly what we do, because again, it's a habit. And how I tell my clients is like, okay, you are used to jumping into the worst or the negative, or, oh, this could be happening, all the bad stuff. Why? Because we think if I cover all of the bad outcomes, then I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be okay. So we think of all that, what we don't want to happen, because we want to cover those, instead of thinking of what we want, which is what you said. But I tell them, or another idea that I often get from my clients is like, I'd rather think of all the bad that can be, because then if it works out fine, then I'm good. But if I'm thinking the positive and the negative happens, then I'm going to be disappointed. Well, guess what? Wrong thinking. You know why? Because the more you think negative, you start attracting, the law of attraction. You attract more of the negative. So I tell my clients, it's a habit. When you catch yourself, and awareness is a magic word, become aware of that self-talk. Once you're aware of the self-talk, now you're going to stop and correct yourself. If you're already thinking, well, it's going to rain tomorrow, I want to have a picnic, and it's going to be probably raining, and it's going to be cloudy, it's going to be too windy, it's not going to work. No. Catch yourself and say, it's going to be gorgeous, it's going to be a beautiful day, it's going to be marvelous, everything is going to work out perfect. Think of what you want. Think of how you want it all to be. And then leave it there. And then every time you catch yourself thinking negative, you switch it. In time, now your habit becomes the positive. And as I tell them, okay, you can have a bad day here and there. You can have a negative thought every once in a while. But stick to the positive, because if you're connected to the positive, again, you're going to attract then more positivity. And it can be, I often have taught my clients, start with a parking space. I know it sounds silly, but you wouldn't believe how easy it is. I tell them, think without a doubt that you're going to find a parking spot. And sometimes you get there and go, you see, there's no parking spot. It's not going to be, I'm thinking that there's going to be, but no, you're doubting now. Go and say, there is one. And maybe you go around and go down the next aisle and there it is. Or maybe you have to go around one more time, but don't doubt it. And the more you do it, you can create it. Same with traffic. Don't sit there, I'm late. The traffic is horrible. Oh my God, I'm not going to get there. There is no traffic. It's opening up. Sometimes at a light, I close my eyes and I just visualize the whole path, my whole way open and all green lights. And then I just crank up my radio and I move on. And magic.
Thousands, if not millions, of ideas, concepts and beliefs that we have about ourselves, about the way life is. I can think of so many, but there's one that I particularly would like to mention, because I see it in my friends, girlfriends, that usually when, every month, that time of the month, the period, basically there's so many beliefs around it, like, oh, I get cranky, bad mood, I can't stand anything. And what if we just start by programming a little bit our body before time and say it's gonna be great, everything's gonna go smooth, I'm not gonna experience any of those pains, and I'm sure that it will be that way. But it's so easy to just, buy that idea, because that's what everybody says,
yes,
especially in this society.
And that is culturally how many paradigms do we buy into on a cultural level? As you know, I'm from Spanish descent from Spain, but I grew up in Germany. And coming here to Miami and having exposure to so many different cultures, South America, Central American cultures, it's almost mind-blowing how these paradigms, and I'm like, what? I never heard of that. I never, this, you can't do this. As you said, with your period, you can't sit on the floor. You can't work barefooted because whatever happens. And I'm like, I always work barefoot. I never heard of that, things like that. But if you believe it, you create it. So when we do hypnosis in the office, we switch that. We help you think of the positive. We create the new way, the new habit, the new programming, if you will, the positive. And it becomes very vivid. For the first time, your brain is like, hey, oh, I didn't realize it can be this way. And it's so much nicer. So that when you leave, when you find yourself in a similar situation now, your brain already starts going to that more positive thinking rather than to the old habit. It's really quite simple, but it's like changing the channel. If you never think you can switch from AM to FM radio, as we used to have, you don't know that it's available. When we do hypnosis, now you realize, wait, there's this availability. And it worked there. You know what? I'm going to do it now again. And you start changing that. And when we begin to access the unconscious with affirmations, visualizations, and all that, it's as if it is happening already. Because everything you imagine, just like creating music or anything else, if you can see it, if you visualize, if it happens in your mind, it's as if it were real. And you know this by many athletes. That's how they train. They do a lot of visualizing, hypnosis. Really, it's incredible how you can visualize and then allow it to happen. So this is the same way. As you said that with the period in Asia, people, or women rather, had no menopause effects, really. I mean, they would go through life changes, but women didn't have the hot flashes. There was no word until there was more contact with our side of the world, and all of a sudden women began to have hot flashes and all these other effects of menopause. So, as you said, these are cultural paradigms, habits, thinking ways. And if you buy into it, then you hop on that wagon and then you allow it to happen.
I definitely would like to explore with you this notion that about the virus, or whatever you want to call it. So this feeling, this assumption that it's gonna get you, So yeah. How does this therapy can help to really focus the attention on our own strength, on our own immunity, because we are capable of basically, getting rid of everything. There's people that have achieved incredible amounts of confidence. Like I was looking at, this person, this man called Wim Hof. He works with breathing, and he was exposed to a virus injected on him, and he doesn't care because he feels that he's so confident that he can battle about anything that's inoculated, however you want to call it. So that's the power of the mind, right there.
It is. It's the placebo effect, right? I mean, doctors, medicines are tested with a placebo effect. And there have been studies made, many studies, where they have told people in a study group, you're going to get a pain medicine, so you don't feel pain, and the other group got the actual pain medicine. Now, they inflicted to all the same, I think it was like an electroshock or something, for them to feel pain in some way. Now, They all gave their testimony, how they felt the pain levels, and they recorded that. And then they administered to half the group the actual pain medicine. The other did not get anything. It was a placebo pill. Would you believe that many of those who received the sugar pill, placebo pill, suddenly tolerated pain a lot better than before? Because they believed in their mind that they had the pill now. That pill was not letting them feel so much. And our body, our cells have their own intelligence, because they do. You don't sit there and say, hey, wound, you have to heal. You have to produce XYZ for the wound to close, for the blood to clot. No, it does it automatically, right? It knows exactly what to do. But if I'm thinking, if I'm looking at my arm, if I have a cut and I keep thinking, hey, it's not looking good, it's not looking good, it's getting infected, oh, it hurts, I'm now sending messages to those cells, to my arm, that it's telling it it's not good, it's not working right. And this overpowers those cells. And that's how we can allow our body, either we give our body more power to do what it knows to do well, or we sabotage it. Unfortunately, the older we get, the more difficult it is, because we're so used to, our habits are so ingrained in us, that it's more difficult to actually, think positive and think we can do this. But if you train early on and you realize the power, then, we can go on. And of course, we're going to get older. Of course, we're going to be having our bodies slowly going to deteriorate. But if we think positive and we don't buy into these programming, then we're fine. You just showed the picture of this woman pregnant. I remember when I was giving birth with my first child, and I was laying there and the beginning of onset of labor, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I kind of freaked out for a few seconds thinking, how is this baby going to come out? It seems a little wow. But then I said, hey, you know what? This is not the first time, obviously. This has been happening for thousands of years. Chill. Let it just happen. And I gave birth in basically 3 hours, because I was ready earlier, but they didn't believe I was ready because it was my first one, you see. They wouldn't buy what I was saying. And eventually then everybody had to run because my son was crowning already and they were still waiting for me to go start with labor. But I allowed it. And hypnobirthing is that, to allow the body to do what it needs to do. When we feel the pain, we hold on to the muscles. When we have the contractions, they're muscles that are going this way to push the baby out, and the other way as well to allow this movement to happen, to start helping the child to come out. Of course, when we feel the contractions, they can be strong, and we can call it pain. I rather say discomfort, and it changes your mind about it. And allow it. And when you focus on it and just say, okay, I'm going with that wave, it's amazing what can happen. It's really amazing how much easier it is. Women have been giving birth for thousands of years and way before meds. And, except when there are complications. And look at animals. Nobody told an animal, you have to be suffering and it's going to be horrible, right? Exactly. And they give birth easily.
It's almost like letting the body do its job despite what we are thinking, despite our fears, our assumptions.
Exactly, no? And it's the fear, and like the animals, nobody tells an animal how, think about a small animal, but even, giraffes or elephants, huge animals. Of course, you see them going through some discomfort, obviously. But I've had a cat birth in my house, and, I remember giving her massage and giving her Reiki. And instead of, I would leave her alone because I figured, let me leave her alone. And she would come back to me to say, do it. It's okay. I'm okay. Do this. It feels good. Of course, she was in discomfort, but they allow that process to happen naturally. And through times, it went from birth being something good and natural and easy to now, oh, your menstrual period has to be horrible because women are being punished for their original sin, starting from there. And then, buying into all that. And the monthly period is to remind you that at birth, you're being punished for the original sin again, and then it has to be painful. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If we allow this natural thing to happen, it's okay. I understand sometimes there are complications, and of course we need doctors and whatever we need in such cases. I'm not saying no, but if you tap into our own power of the body and listen to what it's telling us. When you have a pain, I don't do hypnosis to take away the pain if you don't know what's going on. If I have a toothache, I'm going to get checked out. I might help myself maybe on a Sunday morning. If I have a toothache, I might help myself with the hypnosis to get over the pain, but Monday morning I'm calling my dentist to double check that I don't have an infection or God knows a cavity or something. We need to check it out, you see. But if I know I have a backache, I start thinking, okay, what did I do? It's that I need to relax. I have to, and I listen to the signs so we can tap into our body and know what we've done or not. If you freak out, if you're worried, if you're afraid, then the body starts reacting with those negative emotions, and it only makes it worse.
So we are coming to you on every Monday at this time. We do a live broadcast with Maria-Pilar González. She is in Miami, in South Miami, and you can set an appointment with her by calling the number on the screen, 305-595-1699. You can also check her website, which, by the way, is going to be renewed this week, beaconhypnotherapy.com, and you can call her, set your appointment, ask her any questions you might have. This is always a thrilling topic. We love talking about hypnosis because we know the benefits, and it's part of the main activity here in our channel, the I Am channel and Aldea Global. We're also coming to you through Maria-Pilar's page on Facebook, which is Beacon Hypnotherapy Institute as well. So we just can't get enough of the topic, Maria-Pilar. We would love to hear more about it next week when we meet again. Definitely you want to explore, you want to try hypnosis, especially for mind setting, affirmations and goals. This is a very effective tool. We can do it on our own, but it's always so much easier with the help of somebody like Maria-Pilar. So we thank you for being with us. And
thank you, as always.
Okay, so that's going to be it for now. Make sure you learn more about hypnosis and try the experience with one of our best, Maria-Pilar, here in I Am. Thank you. See you next week.
Bye-bye.